practice field to include irrigation and the building. Actually, it doesn't include the building, but planning of the building, because we don't know what's involved yet. So it would be a very robust set of construction plans and specifications. It would then be a function of packaging each of the solicitations in turn to go out to bid for the phase at hand. What I understand the initial phase would be this infill synthetic turf field, all the markings, probably the logo, the track reconstruction, the demolition of the bleachers and the press box, and the construction of a renovated practice field. We'll talk about that in just a second a bit more. And the fencing and some landscaping in the entrance statement to set the conditions for a first-class facility, so that when you walk into this facility, you have a sense of place, you have a sense of arrival. That's phase one. Slide.
That's the question of that.
Yes?
Is the reason for doing the practice field and not the bleachers so we don't have to put in restrooms?
No, I don't think so. I think the reality is the order of magnitude of the costs are wholly different. They're very different animals in terms of the cost. I think the practice field, the level of effort in the practice field renovation is very limited. You've got vitrified clay pipe under that field as part of the historic leaching system for the school. Very, very fragile stuff. We're not going to put D8 dozers on that field and rip it completely apart. What we are proposing to do is to take off the vegetative cover, the first 6 inches.
That won't take long.
That won't
take 15 minutes.
Yeah. You've got a heck of a lot of topsoil coming off your existing football field. That's going to be screened, it's going to be tested, it's going to be amended based on the results of the testing, and we're going to design a real good growing medium for sports turf before we put it back down on the practice field. We're going to shape the practice field and redo the fine grading, build a root zone, and put a high-quality athletic turf back in there along with irrigation. We think we can do that for about $75,000. The bleachers, on the other hand, are about $250,000. So I think that had more to do with it than the sequencing of the restrooms.
Mel, there appear to be some concerns that the practice field is no longer playable. I think we'll all agree it's in very poor
Practice
condition.
field, I don't think we should be using it, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
a lot
agree.
of people feel the same. The other question would be, if you're going to take off some inches of that existing football field, if you're not going to do the practice field now, you're going to truck that loom somewhere else. You're going to be paying for trucking to get it back and forth. Probably if you are going to address the practice field, now would be the time to do it economically.
I guess it's one, yeah, two questions. I am concerned with the fragility of the septic system there. We've had problems with it. I guess the other question I have is, if we're going to take that, why not maybe look at the middle school field for that turf and not the practice field?
You will have enough material coming off of the football field to do both. There's a good deal of material coming off of there, I believe.
Okay.
I share your concern with regard to the fragility of the infiltration system infrastructure. On the other hand, we did look at the record drawings, and the depth of cover over the tops of the vitrified clay is pretty substantial, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's certainly measured in feet, not in inches.
I believe it was about 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah, so I do have a good degree of confidence that there is some modicum of effort that could be applied to that field to make it better without ripping it up and doing a major reconstruction.
I think from a safety and use point of view, doing that field makes sense, because I honestly feel that field is a hazard. Right?
Yeah, well, we do too.
It's used every day, every night with the lights. I guess though, I have a concern with the facility being built and then nowhere to sit to watch your games. And I guess I'm having a hard time.
The grandstand is directly related to the bathroom use. In other words, if we don't have grandstands, we don't need the bathrooms. Is that true?
I believe that is true.
Okay.
Is there any way you can
So there's no place to
salvage
sit.
even the visitors stand and just put them in a place and secure them?
I think that's a question for your building inspector, and I want to be very careful here. My feeling is they're not code compliant in several different instances, and to touch them and move them, I think what grandfathering you currently have, you would lose, and that's my opinion. I don't think you can.
I have faith that fundraising will happen and eventually they'll
use it for football.
It's for
In other events that you have there?
It's for football and it's for, maybe graduation.
Right.
So we actually do want to do graduation also for some reason, there were bleachers there, and right at that price of, if we rented the seats for $1,000, whatever you're paying,
Yeah.
$2 to $2.25
For
to
seat.
sit. So if it was something that the school committee definitely felt they wanted to do, like, for graduation, you could do that. And it's, again, it's one of the 3 phases that we will work that in.
No, I understand that.
So you said $250,000 approximately.
You got it. Let's step through the budget, and I think that'll make sense for you. First of all, this is not a budget. This is Bill's best estimate based on having put a lot of these projects out to public bid for Massachusetts municipalities. It's a guess. It's a pre-designed budget, and until we design the drainage system, the asphalt bat, that we select the surfacing, these numbers are very sensitive to the decisions that we make in design. Having said that, I think it's certainly suitable for discussion purposes. We do have hard copies of this if you want to pass them out. Where are they? They're right under my hand. Very quickly, let me step through the big pieces here. We do have bonds and mobilization to the tune of about $65,000. We haven't forgotten the bond. Because of the wetlands in particular around the left side of the project here, we did put in a fairly robust treatment for temporary erosion controls and hay bales and silt beds. Demolition and site preparation is the removal of the topsoil, the demolition of the bleachers, some of the fencing, and generally setting the conditions for the project, removal and storage of the goalposts. Probably the biggest number on here is the earthwork and base prep and drainage and curb. That's all that stuff that's going on that has to be very well done underneath the carpet. A good rule of thumb for most sites is that all of that can be accomplished. Why do we have that?
And you just put dumps and there you go.
Thank you. All of that can be accomplished for about $3.50 per square foot. And you've got about 140,000 square feet in consideration of the 92,000 square foot field and the track and field facility. And finally, site utilities, water, power, combo, data. Slide, please. Another big number is the asphalt, and this is the asphalt not only for walkways, but for the 3 inches, 2 1.5-inch lifts of bituminous for the track and field and the D areas. Track and field equipment. Although you have some, you're going to need 20 more hurdles because you've got 2 more lanes. Toe boards and turning circles for discus and for shot put. Long jump, triple jump, takeoff boards, pits and sand catchers, all that stuff that has to go into a new facility. The synthetic turf, I've carried $5.10 per square foot over a 90,000 square foot field. That's the carpet, that's the seaming, that's the markings, that's the infill. That number is a very, very good infill synthetic turf product. There's about 35 of them on the market today. There's 3 or 4 that you would consider favorably to put in your field, and that's a good number that would buy any of them. That number today would buy the turf that's in Gillette Stadium. We wanted to be conservative in our numbers. The synthetic track surfacing, I've carried $32 per square yard. There's about 6,250 square yards. That is for a urethane base mat with red structural spray. That is the better of the 2 surfaces that I passed around to you. Again, we've tried to be conservative in our numbers. Site improvements and amenities, just some other odds and ends. Flagpoles, bollards, scoreboard relocation, new goalposts and the anchors to go with them. Slide, please. The $73,000 is basically the level of effort associated with the renovation of the practice field. Again, it's a smaller field rather than the 90,000 square feet for your game field. I'm thinking that this is about a 45,000 square foot or half-sized practice field. Again, the level of effort would be taking off the vegetative cover, redoing the fine grading with a light laser grader, putting together an amended engineered root zone mix, putting down 6 to 8 inches of new material, and then either seeding or sodding it with a high-quality athletic turf, and about $30,000 worth of irrigation, maybe less. What did I carry? 25, yeah, half-size field. $25,000 worth of irrigation. Fencing, we want to put a 4-foot black or dark green vinyl-clad pedestrian fence around the outside edge of the track, and some other fencing repairs associated with gates. We carried about $55,000 worth of fencing. All in, the project is about $1.7 million. We carried a 10% contingency. We're carrying about a 5% design fee for this aspect of the project, for a total budget of the Phase 1 project of about $1.94. Those are fairly conservative numbers and fairly indicative of publicly bid projects this year for 09 construction. Yes, sir?
On the bidding, you bid each item individually?
No. We do some unit cost bidding. I probably wouldn't propose to do that here. Probably this would be a single general site contractor under Chapter 3039M, and we would do a single solicitation and let them worry about the track surfacing guy, the turf surfacing guy, the fencing guy, and let them competitively put their bids together.
So who then makes the decision on the bids?
You do.
Town manager does, actually.
Yeah.
But, so he wouldn't get 3 bids for fencing?
No. No. You'd let the marketplace dictate how the how the general contractor put their proposal together. I would assume that he or she would get 3 bids for fencing, assuming they don't do that in-house, or for paving, or for track surfacing, or for turf. Yes, sir?
Would you explain why we need to remove the grandstands as they are in the first block? At this point?
It goes back to the same reason why I'm proposing you blow up the track. In order to open the width of the infield, in order to create the additional 2 lanes, in order to reorient the field to derive the additional width, they're simply in the way.
And so how much are we gaining from that versus we're losing?
You're gaining, I don't know that yet, and until we do survey, I'd be guessing, but my guess would be we're gaining 5 to 6 feet of additional infield width, particularly in the corner kick areas. We're gaining 2 additional 42-inch lanes in the straightaway of the track chute. And we're gaining another 200 seats of seating on the home side. That's what you're gaining.
Right. Could speak to it, regularly, they don't play football there, they don't play soccer, they don't play field hockey, 5 games. So you can't play any of the high school soccer games.
Girls play lacrosse, the boys can't play there.
Right, boys lacrosse can't play there, so now you open it up that every sport that needs a multi-purpose field can play this. You're making it from a football field to a multi-purpose field. There's a number of the fields where the catch basins there, so the only thing that's played is football now. 5 on baseball.
This, Bill, if you don't mind, this is a pretty good graphic. I know that's a cartoon, but you can see what you're gaining. You're gaining that here. That's how this is how it shifts. The whole track is shifting to run horizontal to the
Horizontal to the road versus the angle. Okay.
When you rotate the field to gain that 15 feet, the existing stands will be out of alignment.
Right.
It'd be like it could be in a Fenway Park.
So we look the wrong way. Yeah.
And it's not real apparent from this view, but you can see that the longitudinal axis of this track is quite a bit longer than this one, and it's squattier.
Yeah.
And it also has